Hi everybody, thank you for coming, Monday night. My name's Chris Hirst. I'm actually currently on gardening leave, so there we go. So it's nice to be out, that's what I say. So I'm going to introduce the rest of the panel in a minute. But before I do that, I just got a brief introduction to try and sort of, put the effectiveness awards into context. I'm also a newly chair of the VCG committee within the IPA, which is Value in Communications Group, which I was a little disappointed to discover that prior to me taking over had been called the Value in Advertising Group, which for those of you good with acronyms, I'd have been far rather in charge of that team than this one. But the VCG group is actually a key part of the IPA. The IPA's role, one of its key roles, is to persuade our clients that it's actually a good idea to have advertising agencies. Obviously that's in all of our interests. And the VCG group is a key cornerstone of that. The effectiveness awards are a key, if not the key, demonstration that money spent on communications is money well spent. But in my short tenure, I suppose, I would observe two things. Firstly, I think as an industry, we've done a pretty good job, in fact, a very good job, of, I'm trying to avoid saying this pejoratively, talking to ourselves. So we've done a really great job within the awards of sharing knowledge, sharing best practice, really improving the quality of what we've done. And tonight is a great example of that. You've all come here on a Monday night to learn, to have a debate about how we produce better work. But frankly, we've done a less good job, if we're honest with ourselves, of convincing our clients of that. We've done a less good job of penetrating awareness and understanding of the effectiveness awards, not the awards per se are the point, but the fact that the way advertising works to drive results. We as an industry have done a less good job of that, certainly beyond the marketing department, the boardrooms. In my time in the industry, I know we're going to talk a bit about fame tonight. In my time in the industry, and possibly before, fame has become, I think, almost an article of faith. And I'm not going to sit here in a room full of planners and explain why that is the case. And a ton of great, very powerful, very effective work, very persuasive work has been done linking great creativity in all its forms to brand fame, to hard sales or hard results. And you're going to see four fantastic examples of that tonight. But I'd like you, when you're listening to the panel discussion, my plea is, as well as learning and all of the things that we always do when we hear great case studies, I'd like you to bear two things in mind. One, I think we overestimate the extent to which the client community as a whole are really with us in terms of these kind of case studies, the extent to which they really engage with them. And two, that potentially we underestimate how difficult it is and how important it is that we bring them with us, because this is what we're here to do. We're not here to make pretty pictures, we're here to sell stuff, and that's what the effectiveness awards prove. And I slightly controversially maybe, one of my thoughts, having chaired the committee now for a couple of months, is perhaps we use our language rather than theirs. Perhaps effectiveness isn't even, perhaps effectiveness and fame are words that we all understand and we know what we mean and we bandy around all the time. But are they really words that our clients use? Are they the best word, the best way of describing what it is we're trying to do? And perhaps, and maybe this is a more contentious still, perhaps we do ourselves no favours with a lot of the work that wins at creative awards isn't actually that famous. So I don't know how many creative awards you guys have been to, but when I sit at them, I regularly see less than half the work that wins, more than half the work that wins, I only see at creative awards, which isn't really a definition of fame, I think, in anybody's book. So I don't really want to mention the word scam within the walls of the IPA, but there we go. So net, when we talk about effectiveness and fame, we preach very well to the choir, but we need to do a far, far, far better job of preaching to the congregation. So tonight, I'd like you not just to be challenged, not just to be stimulated, not just to be inspired, but also I'd like us to ask ourselves how, as an industry, we become more famous for creating fame. And what we're going to do now, the way this is going to work tonight, is we're going to 5 or 10 minutes each as they go through the 4 case studies. I'm going to introduce the panel now. So on my left, you've just seen Matthew Phillip, who's from Manning Gottlieb OMD. He's going to talk about Specsavers, if you didn't guess that already. He's actually doing something completely different. We've got Kat Wiles, who's a board account director at AMV. She's going to talk about Sainsbury's. We've got Matthew Gladstone from Grey, who's going to talk about BHF. And we've got Jenny Howard, strategy director from Sunshine, who's going to talk about Bailey's Women's Book Prize. So they're going to, the way it's going to work is they're going to give us a brief overview. We're going to get off the stage, otherwise it's going to be a bit awkward us sitting here while they're presenting. So we're going to get off the stage, they're going to talk through their case studies, then we're all going to come back up for Q&A. And there is a bottle of champagne, and there really is a bottle of champagne, for the best questions. So I think it's some really hard questions, and it makes it fun for all of us.